Imalent makes some of the brightest flashlights in the world, and they are very impressive. But it's hard to impress your friends with a light this big when it's not with you. It's almost like Imalent knew that was a problem because they just released the LD70. This is the world's brightest pocket flashlight, and it's small. Welcome back to Shul Lights. The LD70 it gotta be in the same lineage as all the MS-18s and MS-12 minis that Imalent has made. It's just like they took these big brothers of it and just shrunk it down so that you could put it in your pocket, have it with you all the time. Now, having it with you all the time kind of sounds like it's almost a tool. This, I don't want to say it's a tool. It's an enthusiast flashlight. It is super bright. There's nothing in its class like it, to be honest. But it doesn't make tool status for me because it suffers from poor runtime because it's so bright and so small. Now, that's not a bad thing, guys. That's like trying to get water that isn't wet. So don't take that as a criticism. I'm just saying that it doesn't have a lot of staying power. But let's take a look at this size to start with. So here's a Boss and a 70 body. Here is a Hank KR4. You can see that this is a really tiny light. I mean, look at it compared to the KR4 here. Look how much smaller it is. I mean, on camera, sometimes lights look a lot bigger than they are, and I suppose this might look kind of large to you, but it is tiny, tiny. And even though it's tiny, it has a full Cree XHP 70.2 in it. So this is the same kind of emitter that would be in an AceBeam E70, and that's a 21700 light, and this is an 18350 light. So it's almost like an 18350 custom, like a Hanko or a Lau Lima, had a baby with an Cree XHP 70 light. So you're getting massive amounts of lumens on a really small package. Let's take a look at what's in the box really quickly. This box is a really nice box. It's got a little magnetic flap right there. And on the inside, it's got cutouts. It's got extra lanyard. And also, it's got this charger, which is not in the box right now because I have it hooked up. This light does have a magnetic charging system, and you can see it right there on the side. Oh, I forgot to tell you that there's also a manual, of course. But the manual doesn't even matter that much because you're going to see how easy to use the UI is in a moment. Let's go over charging. So it's got a built-in battery. I know, boo, built-in. But, you know, it makes sense to me on a light this small. You're going to see in a moment here, it's got a lot of great features, and to keep it small, there is no tail caps to unscrew or anything like that. So yes, you are stuck using this proprietary charging cable. Fortunately, it's a good one. It's magnetic. It just clicks right on. I'll show you the charging right now. If we get this clicked on, you can see, oh, look at that. There's a little screen that shows you that's charging. There's a little battery symbol right there. Here, I lost connection. There we go. Little battery symbol. And you can see that it's showing that it's almost topped off. Well, actually, the battery is basically full. And how do I know? Well, that little screen that we're just looking at, let me get a good shot of it. It's OLED. Check this out. There's your battery voltage. Now, I know that on the camera it looks like it's flickering. That's just because of the way the OLED screen works. It's a low-power OLED screen, which is what you want. But to my eye, there's no detectable flicker. And you can see, that's so cool. You tap 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and you get the exact voltage readout, 4.2. So this little OLED status is really neat because, now let's talk about the UI. You tap once to turn it on, tap once to turn it off, and which mode it's on is displayed right here. So you can see it says 20 lumens. Now if you press and hold, it'll go up to 200 lumens, 900 lumens, 2000 lumens, and then back down to 20 lumens. Now if you double click, it'll go to turbo, and turbo is 4000 lumens. Now, those little lumen output numbers are pretty darn accurate. I measured them on the lumen tube, and they were really good, with the exception of one mode. And this is too bad, but check it out. When it's on, here, let me go up a little bit here. When it's on 200 lumens, I measured it right at 200. I was amazed. It was so close. When I measured it at 900 lumens, I got like 890. So that's 900 to me. 2000, I got 2000 lumens. Now, the two that it seemed to not be accurate on was the turbo. When I double click, the turbo says it should be 4000, and I was getting less than 4000. I was getting around 3100 or so. So there's a little loss there. But the other glaring difference, and I do think this is a glaring difference because I think the light would be much more useful if this was accurate, is at the lowest level, it says it should be 20, and it was actually 100. That's a big difference, okay? 20 is not moonlight by any means, but 20 is definitely a low, and I found that the lowest on this light was 100 lumens, and that was really more of a medium in my book. So, again, 100 lumens at the lowest is what I rated. I rated 100 lumens, 200, about 1,000, 2,000, and then about a little over 3,000 is what I got out of this light. I don't actually think it's a big deal that the lumens are a little off. I wish it had a reasonable moonlight. It would be much more useful as an EDC light. But here's the thing. It's not that useful as an EDC light. The OLED display seems very efficient. Let me talk about the battery and efficiency for a second, okay? The OLED display is very efficient. I charged it to full. I triple tapped to see the voltage, and it was 4.2. It cut off right where it should. And it stayed at 4.2 for an entire week of being off. Okay, so not in use. The OLED display and the driver itself didn't seem to have any major drain because it was 4.2 a week later. But here's the thing. In use, on turbo, so this is wide open, that battery drops really fast. After about 1 minute on turbo, I dropped from about 4.2 to about 3.9. So just be aware that the little 18350 battery that makes this light so small is able to push out those lumens, but not for long. So again, I would see this as a flashlight you bring to wow people. It's a hot rod flashlight. It does what it needs to do, I think. I think it's designed for this, and it's doing well. Let me finish out the UI for a second. So we talked about the fact that it's one click for on, one click for off, and you hold to go through the modes. Well, there's also a lockout mode, which is 4 clicks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can see a little lock appears to signify that it's actually locked out. Once it has slept here, let's wait for it. Notice that when I tap, it will remind me it's locked out. You know I love that. I hate flashlights that don't tell you when they're locked out. Now, while it's locked out, if you tap 4 times again, 1, 2, 3, 4, it animates and shows that it's unlocked. So that's pretty much the UI in a nutshell. 1 click for on, 2 clicks for turbo, and 3 clicks for voltage, and 4 clicks for lockout. Now, while the light is on, if you're in turbo, and then you double click again, it will go to strobe. So some lights, when you double click while you're in turbo, they exit turbo. But that's how you get to strobe on this light, is you go to turbo first, and then you double tap again to go to strobe. So strobe is double tap, double tap. I'm going to go ahead and test its tint and CCT, but I think it's kind of silly to do so because this is a cool white emitter, and it's designed for output. So you can see that it's definitely cool white. It's going to be about 6500 on turbo. The tint is pretty good. It's pretty neutral, but I mean, on the cool end like that, I don't know how much tint even matters. And it's low CRI. I've carried this light for about a week, and I've gotten to know it really well. It is not full right now. It's close to full, but it's not full. So these lumen measurements are going to be a little lower than it might normally be. But let's take a look at its lowest mode. So we're at 900. So let me hold and go down to the supposed 20. And you'll see that it's really around 90 lumens. When it's topped off, it's almost 100. I'll go up a mode to 200 lumens, and you can see I'm right around 200 lumens. As I said, when it's fully charged, I'm getting 200 lumens. Then when I go to 900 lumens, you can see that I'm getting about 750 right now, but remember, it needs to be fully charged. And then when I go to 2000 lumens, I'm getting about 1700 lumens. And let's go to the turbo. And turbo says over 3000 lumens for an instant, and then it drops down, which is totally normal. Again, when fully charged, I think it was getting around 3100, 3200 lumens. All right, we're out front for some beam shots with the Imalent LD70. Now, I'm going to compare it to two other lights. I'm going to compare it to a Hank Wang KR4, which really isn't fair because the KR4 is much larger in all respects, and it's a much larger battery, so it's heavier. But I'm also going to compare it to a Convoy T3, and that's a AA light, so, well, it's a 14500 light, so it's got a battery that's longer and thinner, but very analogous to the 18350 that's inside this Imalent. And if you look at these two lights, I think that they're very similar in size and shape. Just one's a little longer and maybe a little more svelte, but these are very similar and in the hand about the same weight. So let's start out with the Convoy T3 here, and let's go ahead and make sure we're on high. Okay, let's make sure we're on high, and I'll lock exposure and I'll lock focus, and our white balance is at 5000 daylight. And so this tree that I'm aiming at right now is 20 meters away. Not this tree, but that tree, the farther tree, is 55 meters. And at the end of the street, it's 150 meters where those four palm trees are. But I do not feel that this Convoy is making it all the way to the end of the street. Next up, the KR4 with Nietzsche 219B. Let's take a look. Okay, it goes straight to turbo, and you can see it's a much brighter light. Of course, this is 4 emitters and an 18650 high drain. And you can see right there that tree, that darker tree, which is 55 meters away, is lit up very easily. And I think we are getting to the end of the street, 150 meters away, just a little bit on that tree line right there. Let's start on the supposed 20 lumens, which as we know is really about 100. Let's get focused on this tree here and lock it. So that's the 100 lumens mode. Now I'm going to go up a mode to 200. So we're now at 200 lumens, and that is pretty accurate. This is 200 lumens. Now let's go to 900 lumens, it says. And so this is about 900 lumens. And you know what? Let's just jump to turbo. All right, there we go. There's turbo. Wow. Let me lock that focus so we don't slip here. That is a lot of light from a little tiny EDC. Let's do a side-by-side comparison, and I'll keep the KR4 on the left, and I'll put the Imalent on the right. So here's the KR4. And now let's do the Imalent. Oh, the Imalent is noticeably brighter. Let's do that again. KR4. And Imalent. Yeah, the Imalent is noticeably brighter. So that's really what this is all about. If you want a little tiny pocket hot rod, one with advanced features like this OLED screen, you can't do better than this Imalent LD70. I really haven't seen anything this small and this bright yet. This is a new level for me. For such a small light, it sure is impressive. If you want a highly advanced light with an OLED display, magnetic charging, high output in a really tiny package, look no further than the Imalent LD70. I actually really recommend this light just because of its wow factor. It blows people away. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.